Alright, let's try this season. Gonna finish listening to this fireside chat.
Who, like, kind of dove deep into a lot of our systems.
I am writing to you because although a great evil is receding from Sanctuary, a new festering curse now spreads its corruption across the land. More dangerous, more malignant than I could have imagined. I have found a way to stop this plague. To rip the dark power of these monsters from their very core and turn it to our advantage in destroying them. But I cannot do this alone. My allies have fallen. My strength is dwindling. The malignant are relentless and without mercy. I need help. I need you.
Cool.
The vulnerable damage is a really outsized role that it plays in terms of a lot of build making. To the point where it feels, you'll get to certain parts of content, creatures sort of need to be vulnerable in order for you to build damage them. This is something that we're very aware of, and we made a reduction as part of the 1.1 build that reduced player damage in general, because most players rely on many builds, I should say, rely on vulnerable damage to deal to kind of spike in lots of different kinds of content. This is something we also need to talk about. Vulnerable damage is far more potent right now than we actually want it to be in general across the game. But I think I've talked about this before, and we need to make a number of we need to kind of bring these things back in line. But this is a more complicated conversation. It's simply the saying you take a bonus damage to vulnerable creatures number, reduce it by 40% in terms of the kind of the amount of damage you can across different sources, and have that be the way that we solve this problem.
What's going on?
I think we all know that the ultimate problem with damage to vulnerable creatures is the fact that it is multiplicative stacking on top of the base already multiplicative on its own. Like, this is
I'm alright, a little tired.
why the stat plays an outsized role in a lot of player
Thanks for the follow.
We're going to need to move that.
Oh, well, I wasn't expecting this. What the hell's happening?
Without making a number of other adjustments to critical strike damage, to the way that overpowered damage is both calculated and dealt to creatures, and the availability of these things across various builds. There's
Cool.
lots of builds that rely on vulnerable, and they're balanced around the idea that the damage is also multiplicative. So a number of the balancing changes need to be made in order to be able to bring vulnerable back in line with some of the other options. So this is how we're kind of thinking about things moving forward. We want to start trying to be a little more inclusive.
Inhaled weird. I gotta pay attention to see if Linus goes live today. So what was this? Oh, I have to claim these things? It's a cool looking sword. How you doing today, Edward? Had one of those days today myself. Okay, what you eating? I guess I need to look at these now. Good, just had a really long freaking day. Steak sounds good. Okay. Not really a steak then, is it? shredded beef. Now you're making me want a cheesesteak. Well, I own a computer repair shop. And oh, what's this? And I normally stream that. That's normally what I'm streaming on a day-to-day basis. So if you go look at my VODs and stuff or check out my YouTube channel, it's that's what most of my videos are. And then at night, I'm usually playing games. Look at my matches. It's kind of dope. Yeah. Right now, 40 it's 3090.
Yes, well, Bozan has yet to return from delivering our tithing demands to Menistad. Perhaps you could sweep the roads and see what's taking him so long. The cathedral must receive its dues.
Blaze Olive just went live. Like I just ordered some groceries. I'm waiting for them to get delivered. This is new.
Please help! I saw a person turn into a demon. Her skin burst. The corruption spilled out.
Where?
Outside the city, on the road to Minestad. They're everywhere.
Why did it just go black? Oh, over there. They have no available points. That's not correct. There we go. Well, thank you for stopping by the stream. Hopefully it'll be a good one. I don't know how long I'll be on. I had a really long day, as I said. And, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully make some progress into this season. Looking forward to it, despite all the criticism.
Inclusive of all these decisions, when we small adjustments to a number of different things along the way, with an end goal in mind of where we actually eventually want to be. We want to be trying to consider what the experience is going to be like from moment to moment. You know, rather from update to update and release. While we do believe that you know, having our season roll gives us the opportunity to kind of reset our meta and change a lot of things. But obviously,
Yeah, what are you running?
Players, the way that they
Nothing wrong with regular upgrades.
and it can be structured players.
I see.
But I just want to make it really clear. But there's a, but I want to in the near future and just on topic. That I guess.
Yeah, so
What kind of illustration stuff do you do?
like a must take stat, right? Better than it wasn't a must take stat.
For more of a build option.
The game will be better when that's the pitch. But if along the way to getting to that, the game is less fun, then we're not fulfilling our obligation to players, right?
That's right.
So I want to talk about our mission statement for the live game. And I think we have yeah, perfect. So there are four parts to this. We're going to start with the first part. We want the live game to always have a wide variety of discovery put together to acquire the items for, and to optimize across all five of our every season should introduce new items and powers that keep the game fresh and increase build variety. Moving on to the third point. The live game should also have continually evolving in-game content. And that content needs to have high monster density so powerful builds can mow down.
So far, so good.
And it needs to have
People are pretty upset about this first patch, but
talking about how
I think it's fine.
while Nightmare Dungeons, I'll get to the fourth point in a second. While Nightmare Dungeons are technically challenging to build, they're challenging to build in some ways that are not very fun, right? Being stuck.
Yes, that's correct. 22 23 where every monster shot you, and then if you get clipped by one bit of chill, right, or got completely frozen, like these are not things that the Nightmare Dungeons system is doing particularly well right now in terms of making challenging content.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important, your call out that we plan to introduce additional content that fulfills that that part of the mission statement to challenge your builds. If we can go
What kind of
back-
games do you normally play?
I got kind of sidetracked, but I think it was really important. And of course, ultimately what we're trying to do is make the game more fun for players, right? Players are at the heart of everything that we're doing. And if the game is not more fun for players, and we're not making the game, if the players can't believe that as the game evolves, it will get more fun, then we're not accomplishing our goals either, right? And so the other point I want to go to here is a change that, Adam was talking about. How do we make sure that
Could you meet me by the road?
the next time we do a patch, we don't have, this doesn't happen, right? And so I want to talk about we call it a key process improvement. That's like a weird jargon term. A change that we're making that will help us avoid this situation. So I think we have a slide for this. When we make, and this goes, again, this is right along what you were saying here. When we make changes to increase build diversity.
Human, I'm sorry to say. Tainted by Lilith's corruption. Consumed by it. Malignant, I call them. As you saw, their corruption can't simply be killed. I've been doing my best to stop it, but clearly not enough. That's why I've come here, to ask for your help. Apologies. My name is Corman. I was a priest before Lilith came to my village. After that, I suppose I tried saving souls a different way. You have no idea. Although, perhaps...
It's very interesting that this camera keeps going black.
War in Chaldean? Hell itself? If even half the rumors about you are true, wow, it's quite a lot. Scripture says we are each half angel and half demon. Lilith,
What?
making the latter,
What kind of stuff?
driving them mad with hatred. For those who've turned malignant, their demonic half is eating them alive. I'm hoping you and I can cure them. I have some equipment we'll need in that crate there. Cages of Binding. Extraordinary devices, really. Meant to remove corruption from a living soul. When you bested that malignant, you exposed the heart of its corruption. My cages can capture it, stop it from spreading to others. But this is a treatment, not a cure. Not just yet. I must ride to the Orbe Monastery and continue my research. Meet me there, and we'll set things right.
Our goal, going back to the mission statement, is we want to have a wide variety of viable builds, right? So when we make changes that have the ultimate aim of increasing build diversity, we need to pair those changes with compelling alternatives. And that means that there are some builds that'll be overpowered, and we can't nerf those overpowered builds without providing compelling alternatives for players to pursue.
That's right. It means that things like when we identify that there are a few individual like meta builds or stats.
Okay.
That, like, really
I got someone for that. Thank you, though.
Pre-season or within a season. That until we have created those other options and redesigned things around the nature of these and made sure that we've lifted up other options and brought everything in line, we're not going to move on those changes. There's going to be always situations where there are extraordinary outliers, that we're going to want. They're usually relying on like actual bugs that we need to address. But when it comes to like trying to bring things back in line with one another, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing those, when we make those decisions. We have a bevy of other options and alternatives available for players to engage with at the same time. So if players see us taking like a toy away, that we're giving them lots of other toys, or lifting up other toys, to make them more viable as part of the exchange.
Yeah, and that those toys are equally exciting.
Yes.
So let's go to the second point of this here. When we make changes like this, it's important for us to make them at predictable times. And Adam's going to talk a little bit more about our communication strategy here in a bit. The start of a season is an especially good time for meta changes to happen because there's a big refresh, everyone is rolling new characters, and there's new seasonal content. And
Indeed I am.
changes like that
My God
will
turned on
also
me. Try to choke. I need to return
appear
to
in Eternal
Kuyovashad.
at the same time.
I'm requesting.
And the third point here, as Joe alluded to, there are certain situations. We saw a case where we had a skill that can do 10 to the 37 damage. In cases like that, where 7 damage, we had a skill that could do 10 to the 37 damage. In cases like that, where the damage is literally breaking the game or crashing the servers, we'll still react to those situations. But that doesn't change the first point here in terms of allowing builds to be overpowered. And I think, one of the things that's important for to recognize and state is that ultimately ARPGs,
All right, cool.
Or some people call them hack and slash games, are about power fantasy, right? And they're about us inviting players to break the game to some extent, not to crash. There are lots of ways to interpret the word break, but and find fun toys.
Hey, go ahead, toss me a link.
Made,
We'll take a look at it.
do crazy things with them, and we need to make sure that we aren't trying to punish players for doing that. Because ultimately that's the playground we built. That's we built a game that's like, go find crazy stuff, and we need to make sure that when players take that invitation, that we're not punishing.
The new militia recruits have been training night and day.
Yeah, and I
They
know
deserve a little
when we were
praise.
talking about at least
But I
the
can't let
Nightmare
them see
Dungeon
me
stuff
soft.
beforehand, and we can go
Mind
into it
giving
in a
them
little
a
bit more
cheer
detail
for me.
once we get
Easy
to
going for
the
you.
stuff that might be
A
coming
boost
down
of
the pipe
confidence
here.
for the recruits.
The one thing
I
I
get
like,
Cool.
I
home
think
being
that
the
I wanted to
hard-ass.
really highlight
Everybody
on was,
wins.
obviously we did this patch when we made these
take care of
changes and we brought character power down, like player power down, essentially. That in itself was also supposed to be paired with these Nightmare Dungeon changes that where Joe was actually talking about earlier, and you know, it's something that we've learned throughout this process is, as you guys were talking about, that, you know, we have ultimate visions for something that is further down the line, and doing that all together at once during those moments, as opposed to doing them over time and whatnot, just leads to a better experience overall for players, and that's something that we most definitely will be doing as we build out, you know, future updates and patches and so forth.
Impressive.
Of course, a key component to this is how we communicate to players, and you know, there is been a lot of feedback in regards to like, hey, it would have been great if we knew some of these changes were coming down the
hope they
pipe,
don't get used to
and you know, it's a hefty amount of patch notes, because we could have digested this like over a few days beforehand or a week beforehand. So one thing we do want to commit to right now is that we do plan on going forward always providing patch notes and communicating these patch notes through streams like this, through campfire chats or developer update live streams beforehand, well beforehand, like, you know, at least a week before the actual update hits. In no matter state, because I know sometimes we're still like trying to like maybe potentially squeeze in a few different things into patch notes and stuff like that up until like the last second, just on the nature of production of how we are. But I will say we do plan on sharing those no matter what the community going forward, and from here on out through a stream or written through blog or something like that beforehand, well beforehand, before players can actually get into game and actually try it out. So at least we can hear feedback and you guys can actually digest the information beforehand. In fact, we do actually have, of course, future updates here that we do want to talk about here really quickly. But one thing that we will commit to right now is that next Friday, so exactly 1 week from now, we'll be back on a live stream, because we will start with that live stream where we will be talking about our next patch that will be coming to Diablo 4. We'll talk a little bit about some of the details here, but we'll go into more detail next Friday specifically. But we will be back on here to kind of go through the whole entire patch notes with everyone beforehand, so everyone has a better expectation of what they're going to be seeing in the actual update, and they can talk to us through chat, through dev, or through social media, through Reddit, through our forums, etc. beforehand, before the actual patch hits. So we will get times and remind everyone, of course, throughout the week that we will have another campfire chat to talk about patch 111, since we just shipped 110, 111. But we do want to talk a little bit about patch 111 today, just because there are some items that we are aware of that we know will be interest to players, specifically when it comes to things that they've been asking for, and at least gives you guys a little bit of an early preview of stuff that's going to be down the road. I think one big thing that everyone has been kind of talking about as of late from this current patch is like some of the sorcerer and barbarian items and stuff like that, and how we obviously tuned a lot of classes down, and there's questions of like, hey, is there any changes in the future for those?
Yeah, we're taking a long look at a lot of the sorceress and barbarian aspects that aren't being like utilized very well right now, and trying to lift a lot of those back up. So there's going to be a wide range of like legendary power and unique item improvements for these classes in particular. Take a look at a lot of things, but we're really honing in specifically on sorceress first, and then also getting a lot of barbarian updates in here at the same time. And this is for 1.1.1.
Correct.
So the very next patch.
Yeah, and we expect that patch. Obviously, if we're having a live stream now, next Friday, we expect that patch here in the next like couple weeks or so. So at least you guys can get an early preview on it.
Yeah, and on that Friday, we'll be talking a lot about the specifics of all of those changes and kind of bring what we
Yep. In fact, the Nightmare Dungeon items that we were just talking about just now, that's actually, we're planning on actually rolling that out in a hotfix specifically. And that is something that we actually plan on rolling out later today. So we'll have more information on the Nightmare Dungeon changes that will be, that we talked about earlier, that will be coming out later today via hotfix. Another big thing that we've talked about in patch notes, because we've toned it down, and now we're kind of and we had mentioned that to players that we do plan on bringing in back up is monster density in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. So I know that you guys had some plans related to that.
Yeah, so, I mean, going back to the mission statement I mentioned earlier, a key part of the live game is having high density areas where you can down, right? And
Key part of the
of which Diablo 4 is one.
That's true.
Pardon my grammar. And so we're going to be increasing the density in Nightmare Dungeons substantially, and we're going to be increasing the density in Helltide as well. Now, with the Nightmare Dungeon changes across the board for Nightmare Dungeons, all Nightmare Dungeons will get more dense. The Helltide change, there are certain areas of Helltide that are extremely dense, right?
Yeah.
Like the tar pits,
Tar
for
pits.
example, is very dense. Areas like that probably won't get more dense. And part of what we've been doing here at the same time in terms of these density changes is making sure that we're making performance improvements, like looking at player skills that are taking a lot of time on the servers, getting those into better performance, so players have better frame rates and stuff, and fewer stalls, and all these kinds of things that make the game more fun to play. And this also helps us increase the number of, like, more monsters, more players, more stuff going on, and we know that the density in Nightmare Dungeons in particular needs to go up, and so we've been working on that that we can accomplish that. So density in Helltide will go up, not uniformly. Density in Nightmare Dungeons will go up uniformly, and these will be substantial.
Yep. Which I know players are been talking about constantly.
Yeah.
Wanting additional density.
Rightly so.
A big topic right now is inventory concerns. We've heard from players. I know we've talked about gems and so forth actually becoming materials in Season 2, which to help out with some inventory concerns specifically. I know you guys have information, at least in regards to stash, and what might be coming in 1.1.1.
Yes. So certainly the gem change is still coming in Season 2, like you said, but we need more stash help now, right? And so in 1.1.1, we're going to be adding an additional stash tab for players, so they can store more aspects, more Malignant Hearts.
Yeah,
so-
this has been like an ongoing conversation every week inside the dev team of like, do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Like the density conversation, the
Yeah.
stash tab conversation, like the engineering team's been working really, really hard to be able to like make these adjustments possible for us. Like there's more that we're doing. This is now a never-ending conversation of like what else can we do and what else can we be doing to try to improve the experience. But like
Making
definitely
progress.